Hey book nerds, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to actually talk about a movie for a change, and what I'm going to talk about is the movie adaptation of It. This is the 2017 version that I will be talking about, and the reason I want to talk about this is because I rewatched it for Halloween with my family. It is one of my brother's favourite films. I think he's seen it like 8 times, and it is one of my favourite Stephen King books. And while I do love the movie, there are some massive things about it that do make me not quite annoyed, but there are little niggles that I have with it. So I'm just going to kind of talk about the movie, talk about my thoughts. There will be mild spoilers throughout. I will give another warning if I'm going to spoil anything that I think is a massive plot thing. So you don't need to worry if you're concerned about spoilers. You can watch up until I tell you to stop watching. And I promise not to spoil anything. So yeah, I'm going to talk about the things that I liked first. So things I liked about the movie: they update all the children's fears, and I think that works really well. So in the book, the kids are afraid of things like the mummy, werewolves. So in the movie the kids are afraid of different things. So the leper stays the same, but there's someone who's afraid of, there was a massive explosion and a bunch of kids died, and they see the the corpses of the kids. There is a painting that comes to life instead. One of the kids is afraid of clowns, and I think this is a really good choice because while the book, the fears in the book work because the first part of the book is set in the 50s, I think, and then the second part is set in the 80s. The first part of the movie is set in the 80s, and the second part will be set roughly present day when it comes out. But they're not the kind of things that are scary anymore, and they're not really the things that would translate well to film and still be scary, so I can't really see them. A werewolf and a mummy, you can disagree, but I don't think they're particularly very scary. I think it was a smart idea to update the fears and make it something that works a little bit better for the modern audience. So I really liked that. Yes, the other thing that I really liked, all the actors, the kids are really good. They're all really likeable. In particular, actually, to be honest, I like all of them. I think they're all really good actors. I like what they did with the personalities. Richie's very likeable. Eddie's particularly likeable. I think he might be my favourite in this. And yeah, just in general, they were really good at getting the tone of kids being all friends together, and the actors are all really good for children, like child actors. So I really liked all of them. The other thing I really liked is Beverly. I love Beverly in the movie. She's such a good character. Beverly in the books, I've read it twice now, and I read it last October after I saw the movie for the first time. But I can't quite remember how kid Beverly is, but adult Beverly is very disappointing. And I'm pretty sure kid Beverly isn't as good as she is in the movie, so she's not quite as developed, she's not as nuanced as she is. And I liked that only Bill and Ben had crushes on her, whereas in the book it's implied that absolutely everyone has a crush on her, which I understand, but I think the movie conveyed it better, where they all notice that she's a girl and they all have some blossoming physical attraction to her, but that's not necessarily proper crushes, whereas in the book it's kind of implied that everyone bar Richie, I believe, does, and that's the same in the film. Actually, everyone bar Richie has a crush on her, and I really like that. So the other thing I really liked, it has really good foreshadowing of various things. All the turtle references, again, not going to spoil anything, the turtle references were done really well. I really liked that. And there was also more good foreshadowing, which I'll go into once I go into my big spoiler section, but that was handled really well. In general, effects were good. I liked how Pennywise was done. I agree with all the comments about people, because Pennywise is meant to be attractive to children, and no one in their right mind would possibly want to go anywhere near that clown. But yeah, I do like how Pennywise was done, and I like how Georgie was done as well. Georgie was a great character. The starting scene with Georgie is just so iconic, and they nailed that. And the other bits with Georgie I thought were really good. So I think that's all the things I can discuss that I really liked without going into the spoilers. So I'll start discussing my niggles now, and then I'll talk about everything in the spoiler section. I'd like to point out again, I do really like this movie. I have a lot of things I want to talk about that I think are problems with it, but I do love it. I think it's a really good movie, and I think if you haven't read the book, you will enjoy it. You enjoy it massively. If you have read the book, you might be annoyed by the same things I'm annoyed by, but I think overall it's a good adaptation, even if it does kind of miss the point. Which, yeah, first negative point, I do not think that the movie conveys at all what the book is about. So the book is about childhood innocence and the power of belief, and what it means to lose childhood belief, and that's kind of the massive theme throughout the entire book, is how powerful it is that children believe. And the movie doesn't do anything with that at all. It has so many little things where it misses the point completely of what it was in the book, and I don't understand it at all. So in the book and the movie, Bill has a stutter. He's got quite a bad stutter, and in the book he has the repetition of he thrusts his fists against the post and still insists he sees the ghosts. And that is one of those Stephen King phrases that he likes to pepper in throughout the entire book. He does that with a lot of different things, and the point of it in the book is it's something that Bill says to practice to get rid of his stutter, and it's kind of a representation of what he can do when he believes, kind of. Again, it's quite vague within its context in the book. You can interpret it in different ways, but loosely speaking, it is the point of it is that it represents Bill's belief in himself and the power of that and what he can overcome. Because in the book, he doesn't stutter when he's not paying attention. So when he's hanging out with his friends, he doesn't stutter. It's only when he becomes aware of it that he stutters, and that's an important thing, and that ties in with Eddie's thing, which is that his medication is a placebo, it's not real, and that is a much bigger deal in the book than it is in the movie. They mention it in the movie, but it's not this pinnacle moment of characterization for him, and it kind of comes out of nowhere in the movie, and then they don't really discuss it again. And I'll talk about that more again in the spoiler section, so I'll come back to that. But yeah, with the phrase, he thrusts his fist against the post and still insists he sees the ghosts, they have Bill say that near the start when he's walking home, but they never mention it ever again. And I guess that I can accept as like a little nod to the books. It's a little reference that people who read the books will enjoy. But then it happens again. They have so in the book, Richie does loads of voices all the time, and he pretends to be all these different characters, and he basically is a 24/7 comedy show. And when he stops being funny, his friends say beep beep, and this is meant to be a reference to a game show from the time, which I don't remember which one it is, but it's like he's being beeped off stage essentially. And then at one point at the end they have Pennywise say beep beep to Richie, but this is the only time that beep beep is used within the entire film, and it doesn't mean anything if you haven't read the book. It doesn't really mean anything if you have read the book, because you don't have the context of his friend saying it to him. It's just a random thing that Pennywise says that doesn't make any sense, and yeah, that annoyed me quite a lot. The other major thing that I really don't like is what they did to Mike. So Mike is the black kid, and he's got like 3 lines in the movie. He's barely a presence in it at all, and his purpose in the book is he's the historian. So he is the character who knows all about Pennywise, he is the one who does all the research, and he's the one, most importantly, when they're adults, who has stayed in the town of Maine, and he stays there, and he's the one who calls them all back when Pennywise comes back. And instead in the movie they've got Ben who does all the history stuff, and it's Ben who's always in the library, which he was, I believe in the book, he was always in the library to hide from the bullies, but it means that Mike has nothing to do in the story. He gets some weird thing with the killing sheep, and he has various moments in his past which are brought up very briefly, and they're all really interesting, and then they're just dropped and never mentioned again. And he's such a non-character, and it really annoys me because I don't know what they're going to do with the sequel. Are they going to just give Mike's characterization to Ben? And if so, what is Mike going to do? Because he did nothing in this movie. Are they just going to make him do nothing in the other movie? And yeah, it's just kind of awkward as well, with it being the black kid that this happens to. It's kind of problematic, and it really bothered me. Other major things that I'm concerned for with the sequel: Beverly was such a great character in this movie, I talked about that already, but adult Beverly is very weak. She starts off in her adult part as being, she's in an abusive relationship with someone who reminds her of her father, and I don't understand. I think it's going to be really disappointing for audiences to have this great Beverly character in this movie have her turn into the adult woman that she is in the story, and I hope they change that, but if they don't change it, it's something that's going to be really jarring, and yeah, I don't want that to happen. I don't want Beverly to become someone in the movies who I don't like I didn't particularly like her in the book. Yeah, so I think that's actually everything I can talk about without going into major spoilers, so you have been warned. From this point onwards, I'm going to be spoiling the book, I'm going to be spoiling the movie, I'm going to be spoiling the sequel to the movie that hasn't come out yet, providing it follows the book. So yeah, this is your last chance to click off, starting now. Okay, hope you're all gone. So, launch straight back in with my little thing about missing the point of the book. So, Pennywise is killed by, or hurt by, belief. He feeds off fear, and it is the belief in Pennywise that makes him so strong. It makes that fear so strong, and that's what gives him the thing, the energy. And in the end, what defeats him is their belief that they can defeat him. So one of the major things is that Eddie's inhaler, which represents this belief because it's a placebo, he thought it was real, that is mirrored in, he attacks Pennywise with it at one point and says this is battery acid and sprays it in his face, and because he believes it's battery acid, it becomes acid that hurts Pennywise, and that's how Pennywise gets hurt, and that is just completely missed in the movie. It's not mentioned at any point. It's kind of, you could argue it could be subtext, but it's not really something that's established, and they don't really hurt him. It's more implied that in the movie he's hurt because they stop being afraid with him, whereas in the book it's more a case of that their belief becomes stronger than their fear, which is the important message of the book. And that's what bothers me as well about Eddie's inhaler, with it being a placebo and that not going anywhere, because that's a major thing in the book. Other thing with it is that I dislike that the kids are already not scared of Pennywise, because it's going to mean that when they're adults, so that's the point, they didn't defeat him in the book because they weren't scared, they defeated him because they believed in something better, which is their friendship and their power together, and as adults they were still definitely scared of Pennywise. And it's weird that, I get they had to end the movie in a positive way, but it's weird for me to have the end with them being so not scared of Pennywise, and then it's going to feel like a step back in the sequel. My other main concern about the sequel is that Henry Bowers is dead. Obviously he's not going to end up dead. He wasn't confirmed as dead in the story, and he's going to be in the sequel, but he fell pretty definitively to his death and he has to be in the sequel. He has to be an adult in the story, and it's going to feel like a cop-out that he's not dead, and I dislike that because that didn't happen in the first one. It didn't need to happen. It just kind of gave Mike's weak story an ending, and that's the story that Mike shouldn't have had in the first place. So yeah, that bothered me massively. Yeah, the other thing with missing the point is that Pennywise, the whole floating thing, that bothered me so much, because in the book what happens is Georgie asks if the balloons float at the fair. When Pennywise is in the drain, he's talking to Georgie and he tells him there's a whole circus down there, and Georgie's all like, do the balloons float? And Pennywise is like, yeah, you'll float too. And it's meant to be a dark joke because his body will float in the sewer when he's dead. Like, that is the point of it. And Pennywise likes this phrase so much that he mentions it throughout the book. He kind of latches onto it and he starts saying it to all the kids, like, you'll float too, which he kind of does in the movie. I don't remember in the opening scene if they actually mention floating at all. I have a feeling, I'm sure they have to, but I also have a horrible feeling that they don't. And then it gets to the end of the movie and they're all the kids are floating in the air, literally floating, and I was just like, what? Because did the filmmakers not understand that that was meant to be their bodies floating in the sewer? And also, did they not understand that Pennywise eats them? Like, that he literally eats the children. That is the point. Why would he just keep them floating in the air, around and round, not doing anything? Yeah, so that really, really bothered me. Back to things I liked, the foreshadowing thing again. I liked a lot of what they did with Stan. So Stan in the book, when he's an adult, he doesn't go back to the town. He instead kills himself because he's too afraid to return. And that's what I mean about them not emphasising the fear of the kids. With Stan, I liked that there was some foreshadowing with that. He was the first one, I believe, who said, like, he was the last one to say he'd stand with the others. He got attacked by the woman, he got attacked by Pennywise quite badly, and he lost his trust in the other kids, and I like that, although I do also like what the book did in the original way, where Stan doesn't need a reason to be more scared than everyone else, he's just not strong enough. I quite like that. Sorry about that, my camera just died, so I'm going to take that as a sign to wrap this up. Basically, I just think it's a shame, because I think this is a reoccurring theme with Stephen King movies, that they just miss the point of the book. And as much as I love the movie It, and I think it's really entertaining, I think it's a good movie, I am sad that they didn't have all the strong messages about belief, because it's such a beautiful theme running through the book, and just so much of the movie doesn't make sense because it doesn't have that theme in it. But I am excited for the second half. I do think you should watch the movie. If you watch the movie, maybe read the book afterwards, if you think that the movie lacked any depth. But yeah, I hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, it helps me out massively, and I will see you next time.